Happy Saturday to all of you Weekend Warrior detailing fans. This video is intended to show folks how to visually read or inspect your paint's finish and condition, and then how to understand how to use the different products. What's most important is that you have very good light, and what I always like to use is the sun's reflection in the paint to look into and across and around the finish so I can judge its condition. At this moment, the sun is reflecting in the paint, and you should be able to see those very slight circular grains of the paint, which we call webbing. That is what the paint looks like when it's new, but the clear coat hasn't been polished. What the polish does is it adds a resin moisturizer to the finish, and it clarifies it in a fashion that removes generally about 80 to 95% of that webbing. So what you're seeing now is what would be considered dry paint. It actually has been waxed recently, but it hasn't been polished in a very long time. And you can hopefully see, as I look across the paint, the various abrasions and other things that it has picked up over time. Now, these are conditions that are in the clear coat that in most circumstances can be removed. What also happens to paint is it will oxidize. And what oxidation is, it's oxygen converting the clear coat material into an oxide similar to the patina that forms on copper. And as I try to view across the paint, the dust, in effect, is simulating what an oxide is. It's almost a different material that's on the surface of the paint. And it's most clearly demonstrated in that short video I posted with the two colored Cadillac, particularly the side view of the driver's door, where you will see the driver's door is still oxidized, but the rear of the car has had that removed. So basically, at a glance, with the right light, you can see the general condition of your paint. Now, first of all, if anyone is familiar with these little yellow splotches, what that is actually what's called over-pollinated beeswax. So what you're dealing with there is beeswax. And the easiest way to remove it, when I'm washing a car, I'll just gently scrub the more solid material off and then hit it again with soapy or water, and it removes that. So that's just in case anyone had any questions about what those little yellow dots are that land on your car. All right, so here we have the three basic products. These are two products on the left that I got at the detail store, compliments of Marco. Thank you very much. Along with an example of heavy duty clay, as well as some standard Carnauba wax, which I would like everybody to know is basically a natural vegetable wax derived from palm trees in Brazil. So, the purpose of compound is it's a very mild abrasive that will, in effect, grind down the clear coat or the oxidation and basically remove the abrasions by blending the paint together and lowering it in an almost microscopic fashion. So it's basically meant to cleanse the paint. That is the same purpose of clay. The purpose of clay, which is properly called surface preparation or shearing clay, is to remove the industrial fallout that lands on your car and makes it feel rough. What most people will generally do is use the backs of their fingers to feel the surface. And if you're feeling what feel like little tiny specks, that is usually industrial fallout, which is particulates that fall out of the atmosphere from smokestacks, railroad tracks, exhaust in all kinds of different forms. Or it could also be paint overspray or other things like that that were in the air and landed on your car. So that is what makes your paint feel rough. It's usually demonstrated quite well on white cars if they haven't been treated at all, and it usually accumulates mostly on the rear because of the Venturi effect of the air as the car is moving along. It tends to dump more of those contaminants on the tail of the car. So clay is in effect an abrasive, similar to compound, but it is much more gentle. Now, the clay you can buy at like the local auto parts supply is what is called mild clay. Then they have a medium abrasive, and then they have a heavy duty. Now, what I have here is some well-worn heavy duty, and it usually will come in a bar about 6 inches long and about 3/4 of an inch thick. And I will typically use half a bar. I like to shape it in a fashion that allows it to fit into my hand well. Now, when I use the clay, I will wash the car first, and then I will leave it wet with water, and I will use the water as a lubricant as I go around, and I'm basically going very gently, side to side, trying to feel the removal of the contaminants as I work my way along. What you don't want to do is push too hard and be too abrasive with it. So what that will do is shear off or snap off, or in some cases, grind down those contaminants. What I will do as I'm progressing along is I will rinse the area I've done, maybe half of the hood, move on to another section, and continue rinsing off this. Almost on a white car, you'll see it turns into what is effectively a brown water from all of the ferrous metals that are on the car. So once I have taken the clay and I have basically clayed the car, I'll rinse it off really well. And then I will always polish the clear coat, because the clay will act as it will have the effect of putting a minor dulling in the finish. And if you don't restore the clarity of the finish, you're always going to see those motions left over in the paint. So moving on to the purpose of polish, what polish is it's resin with wax in it. Now, resin is like a gooey, syrupy oil that acts as a moisturizer for the paint, with a little bit of wax in it to help it dry quicker without leaving an abundance of streaks, because there's too much resin left over on the paint, which sometimes can be very frustrating to remove. So I'd like, first of all, to give everyone the analogy I often use, is that your paint in its natural state is very similar to your skin, particularly the surface, and it's dry and it's porous. And when you moisturize it, it makes it smooth, and in effect, almost kind of, it impedes water absorption. The purpose of the wax is to be a shell that sits on top of the finish that gradually will flake away through expansion and contraction from the heat. And it will basically be reduced just from getting hot and cold, and little bits of it flaking off, just like your skin does. So you want to replace the wax periodically, but understand that it's a clear shield that goes over the paint, and its purpose is to act as a surface protectant, while the polish acts as something of a moisturizer and a protectant. Now, when you polish and then wax your car, what it does is it makes the paint very resilient. So if you take your car and you bump another car, the car that has been treated is going to be much slicker. And as the friction picks up between the two surfaces, the car that is dry and tacky is going to get hot first. And that paint is going to let go, and it's going to end up on your slick paint, which you can then take some compound and remove, and now you have your original finish back. So if you're ever going to clay your car, you need to understand that you need to at least wax polish the finish, if not taking real actual polish and using a buffer to restore the clarity of the finish. With a vehicle like this, I would do both. Now, it's very likely that I'm going to do both here soon, and I'll be able to give folks a good before and after of what the paint looks like, before and after it's been treated. But ideally, you'll see that the majority of these abrasions are gone, except for any potential scratches that may have gone too deep. But there should be a very glassy, glossy finish that if you treat, I always recommend it quarterly if it's a nice car and you can garage it. If, at minimum 6 months, if you put a coat of wax on your car, it'll always protect it from various elements adhering to it or causing damage or other things like that. And it'll be much easier to repair if something does occur. So I hope this helps folks understand the purposes of these products and how to utilize them. So, best wishes to everyone out there and take care.